Hey folks, it's Bill Swift from Swift Canoe and Kayak, and we're at our test paddling center in beautiful Oxtongue Lake. And we've got a couple of good blokes from Australia with us today. And why don't you introduce yourselves?
So I'm Travis Frenay, owner of Paddle and Portage Canoes in Kangaroo Valley, Australia.
I'm Daniel Rice. I'm the general manager at Paddle and Portage Canoes in Australia, Kangaroo Valley.
I love the name Kangaroo Valley. How appropriate.
It's aptly named.
Yeah.
So, Travis, let's start out with tell us about Paddle Portage. It's something that you started with your wife, Sarah. So,
That's
tell
right.
us about the beginnings and what it's all about.
Yeah, thanks. So 22 years ago, I moved to Australia. I'm originally from upstate New York, and I was working
It's
as
amazing because you have the Aussie accent completely now.
they try to beat it out of me. I'm just somewhere in the middle now. But I came from upstate New York, and I'd been a paddler my whole life, and I was working as an outdoor educator in Australia. And canoe culture was not as prevalent as where I'd come from, what I'd seen in places like this.
The
And
Adirondacks, Algonquin.
exactly. And I just accepted it. I thought, no, I'm not going to try to change anything. I'm in Australia. I'll just be Australian. But after a while, I just couldn't take it any longer, knowing that there was so much opportunity that needed to be explored. And so I took a punt, as a great Australian expression, and I started importing canoes originally from the US and thought I'd see how they go. And 15 years on, here we are now importing your beautiful canoes to Australia, and we live in the canoeing capital of Australia. And we really just seek to inspire that canoe culture, just to show people what canoes are capable of. And what I've learned in this process is that it wasn't that Australia was lacking a canoe culture, it was that they had a huge boom in canoeing back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And it kind of just faded away a little bit. And we're trying to bring that back as best we can.
Well, you said the canoe capital. So is it the topography in your local area around there that makes it that?
Yeah, so the Kangaroo Valley is part of the Morton National Park and the North Etchemer Wilderness area. There's a beautiful lake there called Lake Urunga, and it's the joining of two rivers, the Kangaroo and the Shoalhaven rivers. And there's over 55 k's of flatwater paddling to be done. There's numerous streams flowing in and out and rivers to paddle. When it floods, we have great whitewater, and it's just a wonderful place to be in a boat. And so because we're very close proximity to Sydney, we're within 2 hours of Sydney and 2 hours of Canberra, which is the national capital. We have a great population to draw from, which is why the area is so popular for recreating outdoors.
And you're close to Sydney.
We are, yeah. So we can be at the airport in an hour and a half, and we're 2 hours south of the city. Yeah, it's
Lovely.
perfect. Yeah.
So Dan, why don't you tell us how you got involved with
Yeah.
this? And
Well, I guess I've been a guide for going on 15 years now, and I first met Travis going through the educational process to become a guide. He was one of my instructors. And I went on to manage an outdoor education company based around school groups for, I was managing there for about 6 years. I was working there for about 10. And around just before COVID, I was considering starting my own business. And I called Trav and I said, just need some advice on licensing for national parks, permits, and all that sort of thing. And then about 2 days later, I get a call from Trav and going, well, instead of doing that, because that's silly, do you want to just come and work for me and help me start up a guiding business, which is our other business, Valley Outdoors? And then we had COVID happen, which basically meant that the guiding stuff couldn't really happen as much. And Travis had been running Paddle and Portage for, well, would have been how many years by then?
I don't know, maybe 10.
Around about 10 years, yeah. And
time flies.
yeah, and I'd bought a boat off him about 8 years ago by then, and he was pretty happy with where the business was and what it did, and
I thought I was happy.
thought he was happy. And then I came in, and because we couldn't do much of the guiding stuff, Travis was like, all right, I'll let you play around with that a little bit. And then we kind of looked at it more and more, and because Travis worked as teaching guides, it was a bit more of a side what we call a side gig, and less of a full-time business. And we kind of looked at it and said, oh well, we think we can really make this a full-time thing and start expanding the range and getting people excited about canoeing full-time. So we moved on to a more advanced online shopping system and all that sort of stuff, and we've tried to really make it a really premium place where people can experience all different types of canoes, which just wasn't really available in Australia up until we really put knuckle down and tried to make it that. So
One of the things I love about you guys and communicating with you guys, we're halfway around the globe, is we've done some video chats.
Yep.
And often if I try to send you guys an email, I'll get back, I'm out on trip or I'm out guiding for a few days. I'll get back to you when I can. And then you guys are paddlers. Like you guys
Yeah.
are into this because you are passionate about paddling.
That's right. Yeah. And I think that we're very passionate about teaching and helping people, because if you perceive that there's obstacles between you and what you'd like to do, we just try to do our best to remove those. And so anything that's unknown, we want to make known. And everything, you know how when you know a lot of things, you can take for granted all of the information that's in your head. You don't realize what it's like to not know those things. And so some people say, how do I waterproof my equipment? Or what boat's going to be right for me? And how many people can I put in? What age do my kids need to be? And those are all the things we love to help people with. So we jokingly call Dan Dialogue Dan, because he will talk your ear off. And but people love the information that they get, and it's the type of thing we really like to provide. It's definitely not a sales transaction. It's an ongoing process, and then it continues beyond the sale, that we want to continue to help people in their journey to learn how to use their new craft as best they can.
It's so important.
Yeah,
It's
very
not,
much.
you're not just selling boats or teaching people how to use a boat. You're teaching people the whole lifestyle
That's
and
exactly
helping
it.
them all along the way.
Yeah. And yeah, and for us coming to somewhere like this is just so inspiring. It just kind of fuels that fire to go, this is what we want to see. I mean, it's what we've tried to create and emulate, but we really want to grow that in Australia more.
Actually, that'd be a great one right now, guys. Now, you've been through our yard. You've seen this. We had a fun night last night paddling out to one of my buddy's places in Algonquin.
Yeah.
What are your initial perceptions of this?
I guess just the love of the outdoors. And one thing that we've been playing around with lately is that bed to boat mentality, is removing the obstacles that take you to the outdoors. And you guys are so great at removing those obstacles. Everything's so close to the water. It's just grab your stuff and go and get out there. And it's the thing that we really want to try and do for Australia, is really make that bed to boat experience as trial free as possible. It's just getting out there and enjoying the experience as much as possible without any sort of challenges in that method. So that's really cool how well set up you are for that here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's do this now, guys. Swift canoes, pack boats, kayaks. So I love the story how you found out about Swift boats and why you brought them into Australia.
Exactly. So Sarah, my wife, will tell you that she was walking through racks of canoes in the Adirondacks and just suddenly turned her head and went, "What is that?" And we went over and we were, more or less patting our first Swift canoe experience and dreaming about how we could one day bring them to Australia. And interestingly, there was, we really were, when we started out, trying to introduce people to the concept of good canoes. It was, I'm not saying that it was an uphill battle, but there was a lot of work to be done. And I don't think that the market demand was there for a high-end composite canoe at the time. And so it took the right amount of patience for us to kind of build up that interest and knowledge from people where they'd understand that an ultralight boat is not something that is easily damaged and you have to be very fragile with. And so
So many people, it happens some here too, but a lot there. People think a composite boat, if they hit one rock,
yeah,
something's going to happen to it.
yeah, they look and they go, "Oh, I don't want to use it. I don't want to touch it. It's too delicate." And so we finally got to a point where we knew we wanted them, and we were just wondering when was the right time. And we had people calling us, knowing we were the canoe guys, going, "Hey, we've seen these Swift canoes online, and when are you going to get those into Australia for us?" So it made it really easy that the thing we were thinking about doing, we knew it was the right time to call you when people were starting to ask about them from your videos, which was wonderful. So that first container, we more or less just had to put the word out. We were going to make these available, and that first lot sold themselves, which was great.
Yeah, I remember the first container, like 2/3 of it was customer orders.
That's right. Yeah. And the stock boats disappeared mostly in transit. We wanted to have some in the showroom, and they just didn't last, which was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about this. Scott Way, our social media guy, had a great observation, and let's talk about this. Canadians think of Australia as Crocodile Dundee, and you're going into the bush and you're fighting snakes and alligators.
Yeah.
And what is the culture of Australia canoeing like? Do you like? You guys don't have an Algonquin Park or
No.
Adirondack, so are people day tripping? Are people doing overnight? Like what is the canoeing experience in Australia all about
You want to
now?
answer that?
I suppose more than anything, there's a lot of fishing culture,
Yeah.
first of all. So a lot of fisher people that enjoy fishing will go and get a canoe and use that. We do have a lot of 2 to 3 day trips, as opposed to like a big long journey, like along a big river for multiple weeks. So a lot of it might be an out and back journey where you're kind of using a canoe to get to a location to go and explore on foot, or looking to go up and just be in an epic wilderness area and get away from it all and sit down and enjoy a big cooler full of beers or something like that. Like it's a bit more of that. The canoe is a great craft to enjoy the outdoors without sacrificing on some of the luxuries and the comforts that some people might want. Whereas if you were to have a kayak or something, you might have to limit yourself a little bit more, or same as with hiking, you'd have to limit due to weight restrictions. Whereas, yeah, a lot of people go out and just like to sit and be in the outdoors if as an opportunity. And then you're at people that really enjoy the expeditions will find a way to do 2 or 3 days. But yeah, it's mostly for weekend stuff rather than taking multiple weeks off work to go and do a big, massive journey.
So, and Travis, you grew up in New York State,
Yeah,
Adirondacks, similar to Algonquin,
that's
somewhat
right.
similar. What do you see as the differences between, say, the North America paddling culture and
Yeah.
what you have in Australia?
It's extraordinary that a lot of our paddling is kind of coastal and not on the coast in the ocean, but there's a lot of inland estuaries that are brackish or saltwater. And so you paddle in these big coastal estuaries, which are very wind affected, but you're paddling to these white sand beaches, and be paddling along and have stingrays go underneath your canoe, which is just kind of strange, to be honest. There's a lot of reservoirs, so whether they're hydroelectric or water storage, there's a lot of beautiful paddling on dams and reservoirs. There are quite a few lengthy rivers. So Dan mentioned how there's not a huge amount of long multi-day expeditions to be had, but a lot of people do this pilgrimage down the Australia's longest river, the Murray, and they'll be on that for a month,
Yeah.
paddling down this freshwater river all the way from the middle of Australia to the ocean, which is pretty neat. And so it's certainly different in that there doesn't feel the possibility of lakes and portage routes where it's just endless quantities of water. But the water that we do have is unique and varied. And I try to pitch that to overseas paddlers when they come to Oz, that it's not that we don't have water, it is the driest continent on Earth, but we have a lot of different types of paddling environments, which are really exciting.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
probably a lot of the paddling, if people are going overnight, they may need to take their water with them
that's correct.
for drinking and cooking and so on.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So we often, with a lot of canoe hire, we provide water drums for storage. But when we do our saline or brackish water environments, we have to factor in double the water quantity. And it's kind of nice because we use it for boat trimming with paddlers of unequal weights. You just kick the 20-liter water drum down the front and perfect, it's ready to go.
That's what we use in our test paddling dock here too, to
Yeah.
act for weight when people come in as backpack weight.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
logistics of planning some trips, like there's a place called Mile Lakes, which is one of our favorite national parks to paddle, and you've got to leave a shuttle vehicle of water drums part way through the trip so that you can restock because there's no natural sources to fill from there.
Mm.
Yeah,
We've been really impressed with the number of boats you guys have sold. And I mean, when it first started, it was kaboom. It was crazy. You've really brought a lot of nice boats over there. So I know, Travis, you and I were talking before. When you first got there, people were paddling real heavy, big boats that you were telling me two big guys had to take off a car. Like
yeah,
now
yeah.
you're bringing in this culture and the consumer's reaction to the lightweight equipment in Australia.
I'll be honest, I'll call it skepticism. But I think there's enough of a volume of people using them. They don't need to hear it from us any longer. Most people have now encountered a boat somewhere at a boat ramp and heard from the owner their experience of owning it. and it's made it a lot easier for them to believe that it's possible. And we get excited now, kind of like driving around here, and I'm counting the Swift canoes on rooftops. We'll go driving on a road trip, and you'll see one of our boats go past on a car, and we get all excited. And so I think there's enough of that. There's enough of that population of ultralight and lightweight canoe owners out there, and composite boat owners, that it's starting to become less of a scary prospect. And a part of it is that a lot of the composite boats that existed in Australia before were homemade or garage-made fiberglass hand-laid boats that people were forever breaking and patching and breaking and patching. So when we talk about composite materials and resin, a lot of people just, they just have horrible memories from earlier days that they're not keen to repeat. But then when they get in a beautiful modern canoe like one of yours, it's just a totally different experience.
So people can visit you and they can try a Swift boat and a Skeef canoe, another nice Canadian brand you have in the store.
Yep.
You guys will help them make sure it's the right boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we do free 2-hour consults with either Travis or myself. So if you're interested in a boat and you're wanting to come down to see us, or if you're local and you want to come and have a chat, we're always happy to talk canoes as long as you need. But usually with that 2-hour consult, it's discussing. We want to know what type of paddling you're going to be doing. We're wanting to know what your previous experience is. We're wanting to know basically everything that encompasses how you're best going to use that boat. And then we'll usually try to narrow down our range to 3 canoes for you to try and test paddle, or that will be a good fit for you. And we might say, okay, this is our top recommendation. If you're feeling a little bit nervous about that, here's another one, and here's another one, usually based on price or durability or some of those factors that they might consider. And then we can talk, once they kind of go, okay, I really think I like that one, then we can go, okay, well, what materials do you want it in? What extra features do you want from it? All those sort of things to really dial that in. Because our goal is never to have you come back to us, even within a year or two, and say, I haven't paddled it. That's our worst case scenario. And as we said, we want to eliminate all of those challenges for you to get out on the water. So if we give someone a boat and they're sending us photos within a day of paddling it, and then we're still hearing from them 2 years, 3 years later, getting photos, that's what we want. And most of our customers often want to come back and chat to us if they're in the area. So we love having those chats when people come into the store and hearing the stories of how their boat's getting used. And even when people come to paddling Kangaroo Valley, and as Trav said, we're seeing it on the car, we're like, oh, that's so and so, and we recognise the boats. I'm notorious for knowing people by the boat as opposed to
Dan won't remember names. He'll know exactly the boat they got.
You know what I love when someone comes to one of our stores, or I see them out in Algonquin or the Adirondacks, and their boat's all scratched up.
Yeah.
It's the best.
And I know that they've really been using the boat, and the boat and the people are having a really good life.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, you guys have really grown the business. You've sold a lot of boats to people. You've given lessons. You've taken to people on tours.
Yeah.
Some of my friends have rented a canoe from you in Australia, and they loved it, a Swift canoe.
Yeah.
And tell us, where's the vision now? Where do you want to? Do you want to keep going in this direction? And what would you like people to think of paddle and portage canoes in the future?
I like that you said what we want people to think of, because my dream when I started the business was I wanted everybody's first experience in a canoe to be a lovely experience in a canoe. And I really also want people in their mind's eye when they picture a canoe to see what we're offering is what they see. And I mean, what we're seeing here, having a test paddling center, an outfitting location, in a great expedition venue is really what we, I guess, have created, and we're now trying to grow. And I would love it if more people understood the potential of what canoes are, because we're really in an education phase still. People ask us, well, why canoe? Why would I buy? What do I want a canoe for? And we're trying to get people to understand the potential, and also to understand that it's not as hard as they think. A lot of people might have had an experience before and had trouble steering the thing, and because they weren't really shown any instruction. And so we would love to inspire that culture and have people know what they are, what they can do, and where they can come to enjoy one.
Eliminate the barriers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this is awesome. We're so happy and grateful that you've come all the way over and you're visiting us here, and you get to experience this. And folks, Travis, Dan, and families are now going to have the experience of trying all of our boats in the water here. We're going to have
It's
some
gonna
fun.
be a rough
Hard day in
time.
the office.
Twist our arm, Bill. Yep.
And your daughter Estelle is off feeding the chipmunks peanuts right now.
I might struggle to get her off land into a boat now. She's got the wildlife.
Nice. Well, guys, Paddle and Portage and Canoes, and then the name of the instruction tour company,
Valley Outdoors. Yeah.
Swift Canoes. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers
Cheers,
to
guys.
paddling in Australia with Canadian boats.